Hey, holy doodle! I can't believe we're live. We're here. We're live. We're
We
alert,
are
and we
live.
feel great. Mayhem Monday, and you know what? Today's Mayhem Monday is going to be a little different. We're going to take it from the audience because Dano forgot the cue cards. DJ and I did a little background research last night, and we are about to bring you a pretty cool Monday morning.
Yes.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
Well, brother, let's hope that wasn't as choppy as it was in my ear live. So as you can see, we are. I'm a little remote this week.
Yeah, fill us in. What's going on? How's the trip?
Yeah, so my son and I are on a week-long snowmobile trip, and we are loving it. We arrived last night. It's funny because you talk about being in trucking, and I'm like, no, son, I got this. I know where we're going. It's like, okay, cool. I go, it's 346 kilometers away. I just say, 4-hour drive ends up being a 6-hour drive because I typed in the wrong place. Right. So it's like he's making fun of me the whole way up because he's like, yeah, great, Dad, you're in transport, eh? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. So anyways, I figured out what it was, but anyways, it was just one of those idiotic flukes. But no, so it was like 6 hours away. So it was a pretty long drive yesterday. Got here last night. Unloaded the sleds, the new ramp work.
Yes.
My first fabrication of a deck on the back of a truck lasted well over 600 kilometers.
Hey.
And nothing broke, nothing fell off, nothing. There was no major accidents on the highway behind us because they had a 700-pound sled flying at them. We're good. We're golden. So it all worked pretty good. And then it was, and then we just went for a little rip last night. So after the show today, we are gone. We're going to do a good 400-something kilometer trip today. So for anyone that's ever rode, that's, a good 9 or 10 hours on the sled. Everything's good, brother. Everything's good. But, it's, one thing that, and I'm going to share throughout the week, I'm going to be creating videos with my GoPro. And I want to share with everybody kind of the experiences we're having. And, it's funny because today we're going to talk about, quoting and getting quotes and building relationships. Because I forgot the cue cards. So our main man, John Wilson, last night told us
shout out to John. Thanks for the topic.
We were in our inner circle chats on Slack, and it was like, guys, what's a good topic? So we're going to get into that. But one thing I'd like to preface that with is none of this happens without prospecting. Like, really, I mean, I'm blessed to be able to be out here with my son. I wish I could be out here with my whole family. Next year, I think that's going to happen. And do what we're doing. We're going snowmobiling for a week straight, and all of it is because of prospecting. All of it is because of believing in your career and loving what you do and just trying to be the best you can possibly be at it. It gives us these opportunities to do this kind of stuff. And, I don't think a lot of people think of that when they go on vacation. It's like, I need a vacation. I've been working my ass off for a year. It's like,
I don't want to think about it
for one moment. Well, yeah. And it's funny because, I'm sure you've often heard the saying, people spend more time planning their vacation than they do their life. Yes. And it's
unfortunately true.
It's very true. But do we actually sit back and be grateful we're able to do it? Or is it expected? And that's what where my mindset is this week, DJ. It's like, I'm so grateful I'm able to do it. And not only just business. Like, we've got a new puppy at home. I'm grateful to my wife who said, go, I'll take care of the puppy. I'll do what we need to do. Like, you go with Brendan and
shout out to
have
Christine.
a good time and reconnect. Yeah, 100%. She's my soulmate. She's the love of my life. And, it's not easy. And other people sacrifice or invest in our connections. Do you know what I mean? Like my son and I are connecting this week, and other people are making an investment on other sides of the equation for us to connect this week. And so it's big. I mean, his girlfriend as well can't see him. He's taken time off the fire hall. He's taken time off work. Like, there's a lot of things that go into being able to be away and do cool things like this. And I think when when you guys see some of the videos I'm putting together, I can't wait. I mean, I won't, consume the show with it. It'll be like a minute video and stuff.
Oh, come on, you gotta share.
Really,
it'll be fun.
I mean, I'll share more in our Slack group, but so let's get to it, right? Because y'all ain't here to hear me mumble about being up in snowmobile country. So quoting and getting. I hear a whole bunch of vibrating. I don't know if that's just outside or the motel room. Amazing when you're not in your environment, how attuned you are to everything else going on around you. But that's a pretty good segue into what we were talking about, because today we're going to talk about, what are some strategies for getting quotes and quoting customers so you don't kind of put your foot in your mouth. And it's funny because when you're not in tune with a strategy that works, you're hearing all sorts of different things. And before we started, DJ and I were talking about, kind of some of the ghost posting, some of the things we used to do. And I can tell you, back when I first started, I can't tell you how many times over the intercom, somebody would come on and say, update the link, and Load Link, or, now that Load Link, same company, but it was like, update the link. And I remember the IT guy looking at it, he goes, they don't realize it updates every minute and a half, but like the link was the place to, like, if it wasn't on the link, the trucks didn't exist. And I can remember, DJ, the first time I said there's got to be a better way was when the power went out and like link was down. And then I think, wasn't it there? Was it 2 months ago or 3 months ago that went down for a day or something, or half a day? I think there was it was a big thing that happened. Yeah. And it's like it's you don't realize how much of a necessity these things are until they go down, right?
Yes.
And I just, that day I said, there's got to be a better way to do this. Like, we got to be able to do this in a manner which allows us to work. And I actually, at that point in my career, had the mentality of working mobile. Like, how can I figure this out while I'm mobile? Like, when I'm not around.
You're on the road,
Well, yeah. I mean, because we were, and then, Blackberries were just coming out, and they were like ginormous, and you almost had like a full-size laptop keyboard on your phone on your hip, and then the car. Do you remember the first car cell phones that came out?
It
was a briefcase with
a big bag. It was a big, huge bag.
Jeff's on this morning. Jeff will remember that first car phone
for
sure.
No, there we go.
Big Jeff, good morning. Good morning, Gary. Gary might remember that first car phone as well, where it was like you almost. Mine had a strap. Like, it was literally not an accessory. Thing. It was like luggage. Right. But nonetheless, so DJ, share with us, what are some of your let's walk through your timeline, because I'm really interested in hearing this. What are some of your primary strategies for getting quotes and solidifying that side of the business, and how did that evolve into what you do today?
Yeah, definitely. So same, and I'm sure anybody new who's watching, you're probably, if not going through the same thing, or you're maybe in the phase of wondering, where do I even start? And that's yes, ouch.
Yeah, 100%, Jeff. 100%, brother.
Yes.
It was crazy. Gary says, ouch, had one, loved it. Yeah. And then those evolved into, you remember those big white phones with like the 7-inch antenna, that it was just the white foam, and literally
Zach Morris phones.
And it was like this big silver attachment where you go into your belt. Those things were badass. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but those things were badass because you could drop those down 10 flights of stairs. They would never break, and they worked like 10 levels below in the garages. These things, you sneeze on them the wrong way, the glass cracks, and you got to friggin', it costs you $200 to fix it. It's crazy.
That's like the old StarTex. The old StarTex, they look like a little thing that, those things, you could pretty much, they're like indestructible. I've seen people have those for years. Totally off subject, but so getting back to it. So really started with what you kind of mentioned. So ghost posting, that was kind of the way that they taught, was a lot of ghost posting to have truckers call in and try to figure out what the rates are at, using so internal. I started at a big brokerage house, so they had their own custom internal system. So I actually, not until leaving them, found out what DAT even was. I had no clue how the actual DAT system worked, because it was all an internal system. And so you're posting internal, but oh my goodness, was it a pain in the butt. And so I, because of that, and because of the processes, it was not like that. Uh, I'm not going to mention where I came from, but hopefully they don't do it that way anyway, because it sucked. When you would post and then have to take down, you would literally have to redo everything. So it was even more of a process than you could even think. Right than using just regular DAT. I had no clue how to use regular DAT until I started at a different brokerage, and so they're like, "Oh, you got to post a DAT? What are you talking about?" So it was a process, and it was long. And so I'm like, this does not work. There's got to be a better way, kind of like you. And really, I just went to the carriers that I built a relationship with first. So whoever I really clicked with and was using a lot of was using consistently, went that direction. And then I was like, hold on, this is a great idea. Let me go into our system, because it was a whole internal system, and let's just see the guys who we use all the time. And so I just went to who we use as a company all the time, not even me. And like, okay, we got a good relationship probably with these guys. So then just we took the approach of, let me make a relationship with these guys, because then they're going to give me the direction of, okay, well, they might be able to help me. They're going to be able to give me some better idea of rates or where to really be at. So it's good for them and good for me and good for everybody. And then the biggest thing was, okay, well, what else? Maybe they need loads somewhere, and maybe I could start attacking where they need help. And then I was like, hold on, this is all really working. Okay, let me start with the truckers. And that really was like, okay, that's a great idea. Let me start there. So but really started with the ghost posting. It was check that, check rate view on that, check truck stop, check the internal system. We did have an internal, because of the internal system, we were able to look at what lanes we were consistently kind of paying at, which is obviously a lot of help as well. So really just took three. We'd always try to get, and I think you mentioned this, I think John even mentioned this, three rates, obviously, to try to figure out what a good, because again, we're a lane and a load and freight is only worth, I mean, just like, it's like everything else, it's sales. I mean, you have a pen and somebody needs it to sign a check for $1 million, they'll probably pay you a lot for that pen at that time. But you have a pen and they have 1 million pens, they're probably not going to pay a lot. And so it was the supply and demand that really changed all of that for me.
So when I first started, it was only load link, which is the same thing as that internet truck stop, just a load board. And it was almost as if it didn't exist there, it didn't exist. I said to myself, no, there's got to be something I'm missing. So what I did is, my first strategy that I had was, as I would get rates, I had a little black book, and it was just like a 3-ring binder, small book, an address book, and essentially is what it was. And it had like A to Z or A to Z or whatever. And I would put the origin location. And then what I would do is the name of the person, I would list the states that they delivered to with the pricing, LTL truckload. I do all of that. I put and I draw a line, and I put their volume in, what days of the week they were going. And, it very quickly filled up. Because you're making, listen, I was just making sales calls.
Yeah.
So every sales call, back when I started, it was back calls to Canada. And the pitch was, we're like 46 to 52% on the dollar. So no matter what, I use a Canadian carrier, they're going to be cheaper than your US carriers you're using. And so almost no joke, probably 90% of the calls were like, okay, I'm interested. Because that's your pitch, right? And especially if you have, using the backhaul mentality into Canada, you have the Canadian dollar exchange on the US dollar, right? So, I was charging companies like Plusmark in Afton, Tennessee, Doug Derryberry, I was charging him like $700, and I was paying the carrier like 800 Canadian, and I was making like 42%. Because of the exchange. So literally you could go dollar for dollar and make 40 something percent. Today you're down 35, but people are more conscious of the exchange now, right?
Yeah.
So, but I started looking at it, DJ, and I said, this one day the power went out, and nothing was available. I'm like, okay, I got like 15 loads to book. I don't have time for the power to be out. And, you know, by that time we had Blackberries and all that. So it's like, I can email so I called one of my carriers and I said, listen, this is what I got. This. He says, yeah, just send it. I go, listen, the power's out at the office. Can I just send you an email? He goes, send me an email with the pickup and delivery addresses. We'll consider it an order and we'll go. And that right there was like, here we go. Here's the power of a relationship. So what I started doing is anytime I had loads in those areas, I would go to my book first. I'd find the carrier and say, hey, listen, you know, you quoted me on this a while ago. It didn't pan out, but I've got this. Is this still the rate? It was like, yeah, okay, what's changed in the area? Yeah. And eventually that created the relationship. You know, I think a lot of salespeople these days have not created relationships, and now they're just trying to jump into relationships, and it kind of feels fake on the carrier end, right? Like if you're a carrier and you know, now it's like it's a carrier's market and capacity and all these things, and you're trying to jump into these relationships, you're going to have bigger walls to break down. And then my second strategy was any new lane, my ops team would take this book, they'd make the calls, and I'd want 3 rates at a minimum per lane. And but here was the difference: is it wasn't like one astronomically high, one astronomically low, and one in the middle. If that's what I got, I'd say no, I'd get me 3 more. Yeah. And I want to see the pattern. Like, is this the real rate, astronomically high?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: how many times, and all you sales reps out there, how many times have you called and they said, yeah, I could do it for $1,200. I'm there like every day. And then you call them and they never have availability. Yes. So you go into your customer, you say $1,200, and your customer, you know, and your customer, for example, is, your next rate is say $1,500, and you go and quote the $1,200, and so you know, call it, for argument's sake, $1,400 to the customer. He's like, well, I'll make $200 because you have to stay competitive. So you can't be at $1,900 thinking you're going to make 3 or 4 or 500 off the 15 or 200 off 17. Yep. It's like, you got to be competitive. So, and then all of a sudden that $1,200 guy is never available and you have to use a $1,500 guy. And then within a week, you're going back to your customer going, I need more money. Like, so I started doing that. And that was the philosophy. And that was like, okay, that worked. And it worked for a long time. And then I started seeing those inconsistencies like we just talked about, where it was like, you tell me you're there and you're not there. And then it's like, okay, I can't rely on this anymore. And that's when I started to hone in on my reverse engineered philosophy, which is what you just talked about in essence, where it's like, hey, where do you need freight?
Yeah.
And what I would do is I would go to those places. And originally it wasn't, you know, now when I teach, you know, for those of you that are new, if you want to grow your business and if you want to be that one that has a book of business that is the foundation of your career. Like, I'm not talking buy a Ferrari next year. I'm talking the foundation of your career. Then you start with your top 5 to 10 suppliers for your company that your company uses. I went and took the top 5 people that I used. And that's how that strategy originally started. And I said, listen, like, I use you 5 times a week. I love you guys. Where are you looking for more business? Because I would love to help you grow. Now, and I also think, DJ, when you look at that conversation, I think it was easier when you and I were doing it than it is today, unless you already have the relationship. But I think it's the most viable option for long-term sustained high performance. I really like my mentor taught me high performance is just getting better every day, like consistent.
Well, and by doing that, the relationship saves you. I mean, I'm sure you know, when you're in a pinch, then they'll work with you if you have that relationship versus just, you know, throwing it up on the load board or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but load boards also, right? You're dealing with, like, okay, so load boards, okay, full transparency, DJ. How many times have you offered to buy a truck off somebody else? Like all the time.
Seen it somewhere else.
So I would call.
Posted?
I'd see a truck on a truck posting. Yeah. I would call and they'd say, "Oh, we just booked it. How much you book it for? $1,500. I'll give you 17." And they're like, "Yeah, okay. I mean, listen, it happens." And they do say yes, and we do try. And then sometimes they say, "Listen, no, I booked it for 15. That's it. Sorry, can't help you." But I do say yes. And it's funny because if it's reversed and I'm the one that booked it for 50 and they call me back, I'm friggin' pissed. But when I'm looking for a truck, I don't care if you're pissed, DJ. I'm looking for a truck. I got my truck covered. I paid 17.
I took
just because you couldn't afford it is your bad. But see, there's always that flip, right? There's always that flip side. And
Always.
in today's market,
Oh, today.
holy crap. It's like
You better
I had
have
a customer call
relationships.
me. Oh, I had a customer send me an email yesterday saying, okay, on February 21st, and I replied back, I go, okay, whoa, I'll give you a number. You cannot, like, I'm talking, you can't hold me within a 30% range on that number. Like, if you guys listened to Dean last week, where in the last
Yeah.
30 days, some lanes have gone up 85 to 90
almost a
cents a
dollar.
mile.
Yeah.
But think about it. If it's 3,200 miles, you just went up $2,700. Like,
Yeah.
don't hold me to anything if you're quoting. And I said to her, I said, like, just so you know. And she goes, no, I know it's bad out there. I go, no. I don't. I know you've heard it's bad. And I explained to her what Dean told us. And she's like,
Yeah.
are you serious? I said, yeah. I said, and that's what we're dealing with on a global scale. I said, so I'll give you a number, but like if they're trying to budget for the 21st of February, at that point, what were we? I think it was the 6th. So we were like 25 or 15 days away. I'm like, and I go, it might not, like it literally, it might not. It's very true because it's geographical, right? It's certain areas that are rising. This is an outbound Ontario. But I said, if the freight dries up in that area and they have to go somewhere else, and like rates are going to change.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's
absolutely.
Like I think it's, even more in today's environment, talk to your suppliers, like, oh, you know what? Look at Jeff's all over it, man. Have it, just have as many needs as a shipper. Ask them how you can help them. Been doing this for decades. Yes.
Yeah.
Guys, what is happening out there? What's happening in this market? What have you seen? Here's what this customer has. And here's another thing for you, for all salespeople. When somebody's asking you for rates, start asking, be driver centric, right? Because right now, dwell times, drivers not having to use of facilities and all this matters more now than it ever has before.
Yes.
When a customer says, hey, can you get a rate for this? Say, okay, no problem. I have a few questions for you. And do yourself the favor. And again, some people are going to agree with this and some people are going to disagree. Do yourself the favor. Ask the questions. Does the driver have use of facilities? How long is the dwell time? How long is this? And you know what? There might be some shippers that they're like, I don't have time for all these questions. Okay. I don't have time to rate you. Like, and I know some of you out there, and you're smiling, DJ, because you know it, right? Like, it's like some people out there are going to go, oh my God, I can't ask that because they're what if I lose the business? You probably don't want that business in the first place if they're not willing to answer a few questions, because if they're not willing to answer those questions now, when you really need answers, are they really going to be there? Like, you're trying to, and here's where the way I look at it, DJ, and tell me if you're on that same mindset. I look at it and I say, listen, I'm trying to get you the best possible number for the service you need without causing any ripples, because I'm the new person. So if anyone's going to screw up, it's probably going to be me. So I want to go in and I want to say to my driver, okay, hey, listen, the rate's 50, I got a load here, but it's a 3-hour load time. Because the last thing I want, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, is to send a driver in, and after half an hour, 45 minutes, the driver's freaking out on you because he's got to go, or she's got to go. It's like, why not just 8 mile the shit out of this, get ahead of everything and say, okay, listen, what's your dwell time? 3 hours. I'm going to get you a rate where the driver has to sit for 3 hours. Is it going to limit the people I can use on the load? 100%. Absolutely. But I would rather know up front, because here's the thing. For all you sales reps, it's another 3-minute conversation with the prospect, and it's maybe another 3-minute conversation with the carrier. That's 6 minutes of conversation. But the amount of phone calls you're going to have to field when the driver's there for 3 hours and everyone's bitching and complaining, and it's going back, it's going to chip hours of your day. Why would you not want to give up 6 hours to save, 114? Right? Like, it makes no sense.
The small things.
But
It's the small things.
But we don't, when we're in that moment, DJ, it's like people don't
think
like
we
that.
just want it. We just, in the beginning, that was it. I'll figure it out. And you don't want to mention that because, oh no, here's another hole that I might have to plug. Wait, don't mention that. Oh no. How long is it going to take? Oh shit. Don't mention that. No, listen, you're piling up headache after headache. Find out as much details. You have to, you really do. You have to think in everybody else's position when you're doing this. So you have to think in the carrier's position. What are they stuck with? Okay, if they're going to be sitting there for 3 hours, it's got to be worth it. I mean, that's just how it has to be. It doesn't matter,
But how is it
it's
worth
not.
it, DJ? To be worth it at today's driver wages, like
Yeah,
to sit there for 3 hours, you literally got to charge $500-$600
exactly.
for the company to make money, the
Yeah.
driver to make money. There's still the engine's still running, like
Yep.
things like
The clock's running. Yeah.
the clock's running, right? And not only that, how much is, you waste 3-4 hours there, and then they miss a window, which puts them in heavy traffic, which delays them for another 4 or 5 hours on the delivery end. So that's 7-8 hours. How much is one night with your family worth? Like think about this for a second, right? Like, and it's not just business, it's not just money. It's
No.
I'm supposed to be home on Friday night. Now I'm home on Saturday morning because this moron didn't tell me it's going to be 3 hours on the dock, or this company did not give me the correct information, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
What is that worth? Like forget about a layover and all this other shit. Like, come on, be real. Like it's you can't pay me enough to miss that time.
Yes.
Or your daughter's got a recital on Friday evening at the school, and based on when you're supposed to be home, and now you missed the recital.
Yeah.
And hey, listen, and we've all missed things because of business. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think in most business and most business people, men or women, we miss things because of business. But
Of course.
if we miss things because people don't do their own homework, don't do their own research, they don't do what they should do as a professional. Jeff's got a massive disclaimer here, and we might get to it because it's a really long one, but it's like, as a professional, it's you need to know as much information as you can about what you're offering somebody.
Absolutely.
It's the reason why asset-based suppliers used to call broker freight Cracker Jack loads, because you never know what kind of surprise you're going to get in the box. And if y'all remember Cracker Jacks, it was like caramel popcorn.
They weren't usually great surprises.
They were pretty great surprises. They were actually really great surprises. But that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so, I'm sorry, as a broker, you need to do better to get the information to your supplier, the one who has all sorts of stuff on the line, to help make things go easy. Don't just think of it as a commission and as a load. Now,
yes.
I know we're running out of time because this week we're like really on a strict half-hour policy.
Yeah.
Because I got riding time. I got to get in here. Full transparency. It's about the ride. But DJ, so for John's answer, John, there is no simple answer. Everyone's going to do things differently. Everyone's going to have a different strategy. My suggestion to you is continue with the 3 to 5 rates per lane. Have the conversations, or have your ops team have the conversations with every single supplier and say, hey, listen, like, how often are you there? What's going on? What are some of the challenges you have in that area? What are some of the needs of the drivers? And take those needs to your prospects when you quote them. And even, John, so far as to even say, hey, listen, if I'm 3 hours dwell time, 3 hours on the loading dock, it's this rate. If you can get me out in 45 minutes, it's this rate. And be upfront.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeff mentioned, Jeff does have a facility profile. It's great. I mean, it is great that's something everybody should be implementing. John, I would definitely do it. Ask the questions. You got to think of, Dan's approach is the best way. Think of you working for that trucking company, and you're trying to build their business. Think of all the questions you would want to ask if you were working for that company, not as a broker working for your own company. Think of, okay, what is this going to tie up my driver? How long is this tying up my truck? How long is this tying? What is my driver going to have to deal with here? Is it worth it? All of these things. Ask those questions to yourself.
Even ask the carrier when you're calling them. What questions do you need answered?
Yes,
If you were to feel 100% confident in this order or in this lane, what questions would you want answered? Yeah. And take it from there. Jeff's built his client profile or facility profile for him over years of experience. Some of those questions might be some of those questions might be fully relevant. Some might not. But to each carrier, it's going to be different. So Jeff creates that form and fills it out and says, okay, what do you need? What pieces of the information do you need? If you're going with carrier specific, figure out what they need. Because again, it's, anyways, my suggestion is, again, you don't need to ask 50 questions if your carrier needs 10 answered, because you have 40 questions that are really irrelevant to this specific lane. Yep. If you go carrier centric, meaning if you go carrier route, if you are a broker and you're just going to say, I'm going to give my carrier as much information as possible, then ask the 50 questions, because you don't know which one that carrier wants.
Yeah.
Right.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah. AJ, what do we got to take us out of here, brother?
All right. Yeah. Hey, guys. So Dan will be remote. We are on the strict 30 minutes. So again, like and share below. You can follow us on our YouTube channel. It's Sales Chatter Live. You can also see our LinkedIn bios and find Dan and myself on that channel, as well as follow us on LinkedIn to see us live there. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till 9:30. We got a great week this week. Really fun shows.
We got a great week.
So hope you all are ready. And so this one, there's S.J. Scott is who it's from. I really just loved it, honestly. You'll find that implementing small changes can have a significant impact on your life. Remember, little hinges swing on big doors.
That's
Keep opening those doors.
Good one, DJ. Yeah.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.